going to take a look in the overview of the components of credential stuffing, what I like to call the components of credential stuffing. So you can see on the left here we have inputs, and on the right we have outputs. These components in the input section of this graphic contain combo lists, criminal tools, and proxy servers. And in the middle there we have the credential stuffing targets. In this example, Nintendo Switch accounts. And then after that, we've got the output, which is logs, so the results of that credential stuffing campaign. And then thereafter, we have, whatever method they're using to monetize that data. So we're going to talk about each of these components, just to sort of get everyone familiar with the terminology if you've never, looked at any of this stuff before. Go next here.
This is looking like a real ecosystem here.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to talk about how all of this stuff works together. So with combo lists, so a combo list is just essentially a text file that contains previously compromised credentials, what we were just talking about, that come from previously disclosed breaches. You can think of a combo list sort of like a CSV file, sort of like a spreadsheet. No one really reads a combo list just with their eyes. It's meant to be used with these criminal tools, much like spreadsheets are meant to be used with Microsoft Office, things like that. And so you can see here, all a combo list is just a list of email address, colon, and then whatever that user's correct password was. Again, this is used as input to the credential stuffing process. And next, what we're going to talk about are proxies. Proxies are pretty crucial for the credential stuffing process because this is what allows criminals to really hide the origin of their credential stuffing campaign. Obviously, if you're a network engineer and you're looking at traffic and trying to figure out why you're seeing this spike in login requests, if it's all coming from the same IP address, that's very suspicious. You're gonna drop that IP and call it a day, and then they might come back. You'll do that a couple more times, and it'll be over with. But when criminals are using proxies, it makes detecting that much harder because typically, what they'll try to do to circumvent any sort of controls that might be around login that looks like, oh, hey, this IP address isn't residential. They'll go out and they'll find other criminals that are, they could be renting out their botnets or just selling residential proxies from infected hosts that they have, and that's what allows these criminals to really look like they're coming from residential networks and to blend in with your normal user traffic. And so depending on attacker resources and goals, they could have a lot of various different types of proxies like we talked about. They could rent those from a botnet. They could be compromising IoT devices and using those as proxies. I've heard I heard at a conference one time someone found an IoT like smart toaster that that was hitting them with a credential stuffing campaign, probably being used as a proxy. I imagine trying to log into anything with a toaster would be really hard. And mobile proxies, if you're trying to blend in, let's say you're attacking a mobile application, let's say the criminal is attacking a mobile application, they're going to want to blend in with all of the other carrier IPs that are out there, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. So again, these are solely used to blend in with normal user traffic. Proxies inherently, if you're unfamiliar with them, are not inherently malicious. There's a lot of legitimate reasons to use proxies. Businesses use proxies, but criminals love them too, for the reasons that we just described.
This is also kind of dovetails into kind of the user fingerprint capability as well, right? It's yet another way to really spoof anti-fraud detection.
Exactly, exactly. And now we're going to start talking about checkers. So checkers are a form of crimeware, commonly known as account checkers, that are used with these combo lists and with proxies. We'll go back to that high-level graphic in a moment after we've talked about all this stuff. But essentially, this is the program that the criminals are using the proxies and the combo list with. Now, this isn't the only one. There's thousands of these out there. Some of them are dedicated specifically for targeting a specific target, whereas some of them are meant to be built out to be modular. They use these things called configs that we'll be talking about a little later. And they encompass a variety of different features and attack strategies. So proxies can even be part of that strategy, right? Trying to look like you're coming from a mobile app The same thing here. Most of these login requests happen with an API, so it's over HTTP, and they'll do things like change the user agent to make it look like they're logging in from that mobile app. Like it'll say, pizza delivery company app version whatever, and that allows them to hide. And so those configs really tell these tools how to look like other normal legitimate users. Again, we're going to be talking about that later. And like combo lists and proxies, these tools are traded within criminal communities. Some are private and very customized. Others are commodity and public. Even the private ones get leaked all of the time. There's a lot of competition in these criminal communities because they want to sell. They want to be the best product out there. At the end of the day, criminals are entrepreneurs, and so they have a lot of the same goals as traditional entrepreneurs. They want to have the best product, and so they're very fierce in competition in that way. Um, and as the authors of these tools make money creating them, they often have uh, new things that'll come up. So, for example, a company will detect, hey, we're falling victim to a credential stuffing campaign. Let's add CAPTCHA to our login form. And some of these tools even have CAPTCHA bypass capability. It's built into the tool. That's part of their competing feature set, and that is a differentiator for them. And because our team tracks configs, the things that we'll talk about a little more in detail later, uh, we're able to understand attacker strategies and the sorts of things that they're doing to try to blend in with normal traffic, normal behavior.
They really manage these things like real products, like real enterprises would, in terms of differentiation and specificity to attack different niches, or to be an all-for-one sort of tool, right?
Exactly, exactly. Like you can see here in this example, in this screenshot, the title of this is called multi-checker. We're going to talk more about logs, but you can see here in this sort of like text box looking thing in the screenshot, Uplay, Spotify, and Netflix. And then right after that, we've got a redacted email address and redacted password. So whenever a criminal runs this tool, after they load their proxies and their combo lists and they hit go, this is where the results will be kept. There's a lot of metadata in here about each of these users that was compromised. For example, this entry here, Uplay, this user has 13 games attached to their account. They're level 10, whatever that means in context to Uplay, and these are all really different depending on the service that's being stuffed and what type of data they make available to their users, because that data is also available to criminals after they've taken over an account. And we're going to look all into that further as we start talking more about these features, and especially whenever we dive into a specific custom account checker. All right, so now we're going to talk about configs and logs, and really I mentioned what configs are briefly. So configs are they're, you can think of them like text files. That's what they are. They're configuration files that allows the attacker to import them into their application, and it will tell them things like, if you're logging in over an HTTP request, it'll tell the attacker's tool what user agent to use, what kind of regular expression, what kind of patterns to look for that would indicate a successful login attempt versus a failed login attempt, or maybe that they're being rate limited and that should kick in some sort of proxy changing logic to switch to the next proxy, so that way their requests are not being blocked. So configs can be used for a lot of different things. They contain a lot of different parameters, but the gist of it is they're just used to really tell the application how to log in to a website. And logs here, what we can see here in the screenshot is an example of a forum post where the user's advertising, "Hey, I've got a config that works on Disney Plus. If you can buy it for me, here's proof of the account." And they showed a log snippet again, showing an email address, redacted passwords, what type of subscription that user has, and each line here is a different compromised account that they're showing. Hey, this is what the output of my config looks like, and this is the type of information that my config will make available to you. And this is important, especially if you're reselling the accounts that you're cracking, because some of those accounts might be worth more than the other. So for example, with Disney Plus, if you're a Verizon customer, I believe you get something like 2 years of Disney Plus for free.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're not a Verizon customer and you're just paying for it and you've got a, you're paying on a monthly subscription, your account is suddenly worth less to that attacker because they can't really but basically because the Verizon account will be worth more because there's less chance of access being lost because it's already paid for, right? It's good for 2 years. Um, and so those are the kind of things that help attackers really figure out how much these accounts could be worth and what they could go for. But this is just a snippet of someone advertising their config. There's a market for these. There's a huge market for proxies, obviously combo lists and breach data and these configs. So um,
And like enterprises, you have a proof of concept built right in. You can try it before you buy it.
exactly.